Hello and welcome to the Queer and Clear podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Rollins, and this is a series of interviews where we talk to people about their sexuality and their spirituality and where the two meet. I'm so excited to talk to you today. So for those watching and listening, Sophia and I live together, which is why this is in person. This will be probably the only one that's in person. Who knows what the future holds? But yeah,
queer in the same room,
queer and clear in the same universe.
You would.
Yeah. So welcome, Sophia.
Thank you for having me. Oh my
You're
God, I'm nervous and
welcome.
excited and feeling all of the threads becoming a braid.
I love you're nervous and excited. So maybe we can start by just sharing a little bit about yourself, what you like to do with your life.
Well, I am a core shamanic practitioner, a ceremonialist and a ritualist. So I love all things ritual. Everything I do in my life is quite ritualistic. Yeah, pretty much everything, actually. I love...
Can attest to that.
Yeah. Yeah, ridiculously so. I love the botanical world. I love plants.
Yeah, you do.
Everybody knows that I love plants, unabashedly so. Yeah, I love the occult. Yeah, I love just drinking in knowledge from everywhere, because I believe that every crevice and pocket and crack has so much knowledge to behold, and I'm a knowledge junkie a little bit. I really like to put my brain in the middle of everything and just let it absorb everything, and yeah, I love picking apart concepts and deconstructing and reconstructing and yeah, all that jazz.
And people call you Philosophia, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, that was actually a DJ name of mine, very mellifluously driven, so love the musical arts, very much so. I was a DJ for most of my life, a composer and a producer as well. So yeah, I love anything music. It's like the driving force, like the baseline of my life. Yeah. And everything else just kind of slots into that.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I feel like we could mention Sophia and I dated earlier this year. This is 2020.
We did.
For those listening. And yeah, what a beautiful exploration we had. And I think a testament is that we're now living together, but we're not together. And you live with someone else who also lives here. And I feel like you're one of the few people that I would be able to do that with. Which I think says a lot about, I think, our communication, but also you as a person and the way that you love, honestly. I think you love in a really expansive way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's not time for tears yet. Yeah, I think it's also, a testament to you as well and your capacity to understand and know yourself, and yeah, also know love. Yeah, and I love that we live together and that we have this relationship, and I loved our relating and the ways in which we related and how authentic and honest we were, and just really true to ourselves.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
So
There's a lot of love in this
sweet.
house. There's 3 Librans.
Yes.
3 Librans, 1 house. It's very, very love filled.
You could speak a little bit about that, if you feel like sharing, which this is the context for it, about your relationships and the intimate relationships that you have at the moment.
Yeah, that is a good segue. Well, it's been 2020, mate. Woo! So, Catherine and I were dating. I had a relationship previous to that. So her name is Sasha. And we had a bit of a break in our relationship where we had just met an alchemical tension, I would call it now in hindsight.
Alchemical tension.
Yeah. Like, you know, just when like everything's built up and the relationship has just so beautifully so orchestrated this unearthing, right? And then you hit the point where it's like sometimes when your partnership is strong enough at the time, you can like really put two heads and two hearts together and move forward together. And sometimes you split, and then sometimes you just need some time.
Yeah.
You know? So that was what was kind of happening. And I mean, as you know, they got to a point where I really realized, and even through our relating, it all really came back to, you know, even though there was ways in which you and I differed, what I couldn't bypass and what was really shining the truest for me was my love, my desire to really commit to that relationship. And her and I had both grown so much in that time we spent apart, and had alchemized on our own all of the things that we were struggling to do so within the relationship container. Yeah. And so we've come back together now, and greater and bolder and more in love, and there's so much more space for us to both now go through these processes and come together, two heads, two hearts, and move forward in a trajectory which is so healthy and so loving and so playful.
Yeah.
As you can definitely attest.
I really can attest to all of this. I've been here for all of it.
True.
Including, I mean, when our relationship was changing shape, let's say, when our romantic involvement was coming to an end, you were telling me about Sash, and I was like, well, I mean, when it's, you know, when it's there, it's there, you know. And I was like, good.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously sad, but also could feel the truth of it. And really, I never would have imagined that I'd also live here. But it was Sash who was like, hey, when is Catherine moving in? And I'm like,
hilarious part.
Okay. And now I love Sash, you know. She's a good friend of mine.
You can't not love Sash.
You can't not. She's so sweet and so loving. So much love in this house. Good God, how do we do anything? I don't know.
It's a lot. Yeah, it is a lot.
Yeah.
And I guess, the bomb that's recently kind of tick boomed is like Sasha and I have had to great lengths the discussion of having a family. So that's something that her and I both want, very much so. And we were talking about it, and I was really expressing my desire for that experience to be a mother, to have that metamorphic transformation within myself, to go through that initiation. Like I just feel it so deeply, and I always, have. And my whole last decade of spiritual work was really driven, by the relationship that I had with my mother when I was younger, and wanting to find such deep remedy and resolve so that I could clearly bring through a child into this world that was, in the most healthiest and loving way. So I really feel now that I'm at a point in my life, not perfect, but definitely at a point where I can look at myself and go, I'm ready to be a mother. Yeah. After, years and years of hard work and making sure the ground is super fertile and super clear. And it wasn't long after this discussion. Ding!
I'm just pretending. I'm just over here pretending like I don't know, but I already do.
It wasn't long after this discussion that a male vessel appeared.
Male vessel?
A male vessel.
A male vessel appeared!
A male vessel is coming on the horizon.
So for context, you've only previously really dated women, right?
Yes. So I'd only really had the one experience with a man in my mid-20s. which was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to say, like, I've never been anti-men. I've never, ever, like, I love men so dearly. And I've always been surrounded by really good men as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had an absent father, and a lot of people tried, especially in the spiritual community, tried to be like, oh, it's his daddy issues. And it's like, my father was completely absent, but as well as that, like, I never longed for that, even as a child. And I think, I mean, and also as a child, I had 2 older brothers who were that masculine figure, and I was also such a tomboy as well. And I just feel like, for the most part, I cultivated a really healthy masculine within myself and held that pole within myself, and even directed from that. But all that aside, the male vessel appears. And yeah, the magnetism for this human, the experience that it brought on for me was so freaking massive. Like, really led me to a place of I really believed that there was just me in this identity for so long.
Yeah.
You know, I so strongly identified, but I also realized, in hindsight, beautiful thing, that I strongly identified with it because of the amount of, I guess, other people testing those grounds so often. You know, like, so many times within my adolescence and, like, in my 20s, like, I'm 32 now, and so often, like, I was hit on by other male vessels, and then when I would politely decline, you know, and just say, oh, like, you know, you and I kind of more similar than we think, mate, like, perhaps batting to the same team, the amount of intrusion that I had around that made me really, like, want to stand my ground into that experience. Like, and I want to speak to this just quickly, because for anyone that's listening that hasn't had this experience, like, it's no one's place to ever tell you who and what you are at any given time. You know, and within the gay community, it's like, there's so many things that you can say that can really, like, hurt someone. Like, you're too pretty to be gay. Oh, I don't believe you're really gay. You just haven't met the right man yet. Like, it just, the list is so long at this point that it's like, sometimes, like, what other choice do we have than to just, like, stand our grounds and go, no, I am who I am.
Yeah.
You know? And that was me just really authentically, like, devoting to that experience. You know? And it was beautiful, because the time came and presented itself where it was like, all this is going to go down the drain, you know? And I literally had what I would call, like, an identity death. So I had to really die to that construct of identity that I had placed around me. And a lot of times for safety. And then the other time was me, you know, committing to that experience.
Yeah.
Really committing. And I'd had spoken so many times with my soul about this and my higher self. And when I experience my higher self, it has no gender. You know, doesn't have boobs or genitalia. Like, it really is this beautifully androgynous, all-encompassing energy, right? And the times that I've come to it, like, broken in my early 20s, like, why am I gay? Like, is there something wrong with me? And especially in when I went to, you know, dive deeper into the tantric arts, something a lot of people don't know, even people that practice and teach tantra, is that it actually originated with a coven of women. Right?
Yeah, I had no idea before you told me that.
Yeah. And then it was, you know, taken and, you know, had the negative and positive polarities, the masculine and feminine polarities interwoven into that, and kind of stripped it of what it truly was, which is just to be. you know, just to be in that full expression, you know, and having so much layered upon what is expected, like, really creates such a huge dissonance in the human, you know. And the times where I was like, why did I choose this, soul? What is wrong with me? You know, I was very clearly, you know, given word to the fact that, hey, like, keyword, you did choose this.
Yeah.
You did choose to have this experience. And for a number of reasons, like, I was right up there in the gay human rights movement, and I was here for marriage equality passing, and I really, like, fought that, you know, for my queer brothers and sisters, and fought for those rights and stood for them, like, so proudly. And I felt it all.
Yeah.
And the experience that I'm having now, it's not any different from that. It's just a different angle of that same, you know, refracting lens.
Yeah. Yeah. I can really see how, like, in my own queer exploration, I can see the need to go fully into the gay identity, just because, as you pointed out, like, the world to this point has been so heteronormative and so dominated by the heterosexual narrative that if you're having an experience different to that, you kind of almost do need to, like, put some force behind it to say, like, hey, actually my experience is valid. And just because, you know, you're riding the wave of, like, what's normal, I'm doing air quotes again, what's normal, doesn't mean that your experience overrides my experience. And that's what I'm hearing in what you're saying. It's like
100%.
you gotta fight, but then now that's sort of like you've ridden the wave, and now it's like taking you to a different place.
Yeah, because that stance is, like, not me being like, I'm so stubborn, I'm not going to move. Because I was always open to a masculine counterpart, always.
Yeah.
I just hadn't met the right, and in a way it's right, you just haven't met the right one yet. Maybe so, but I am who I am in the moment that I am it, and I need to honor that. So whatever label that I need to give that to make you understand what I'm standing for, here it is. When I went back to my soul and was like, what the fuck, mate? I thought I chose this experience. Why? Why the curveball? And it's like, well, you know, I was never really given any labels. And what I came to really realize through that conversation, and it's a big one, and it doesn't take away from anyone's experience, because I believe everyone's experience is fluid, has space.
Yeah.
Unless you're completely overrun by pride and the need to fully, like, feel the need to strongly identify with something or you know, some kind of label, is that, like, no one is gay, everyone is queer. And you can change that label and put another one on it, fluid, queer, like, there's so many things, but we just are. We are who we are, you know. And yeah, I've had so many partnerships where I've met that person and we've embraced, and we, you know, have had intimate moments, and I've been triggered into remembering past lives with that person, and oh wow, in this past life we were a man and a woman. In this past life we were two men, like, and when you really go to the depths of understanding, like, how many experiences that you've lived, you really can understand just how fluid the soul is in the entirety of its expression. And that is the most beautiful thing about this, you know, whole thing.
Yeah. I truly feel that the more we expand, there's words I want to give to that. It's like the more that we can fully live an experience and fully inhabit the experience, it's like then from that place you can fully inhabit another experience. And I get this sense, at least for my soul, that it just wants to have so many of those full experiences. So I've realized over time that, like, the more I dive in, you know,
The more there is.
Always. But also, like, not the faster it goes, because that feels like it's a bit fleeting. It's not. It's just like the smoother it goes.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm over here, I'm fully over here, and now I'm fully over here, and it's all just, you know, it's like lots of bubbles connecting to each other.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Transmit.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just want to say, like, every experience also is so necessary for the soul's evolution. Like, I was going to say, like, don't identify as gay because then you're going to die. Like, no. Like, it was within the plan. Like, that's how clever it is. And sometimes you can't fucking know it. But I just saw it, like, when I was on the other side, I was like, that was brilliant. Like, that was so brilliant. Like, if I can take down within myself the construct or constructs that I have built over 20 years of relating on this planet, I can do anything, you know?
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments. I was like, whoa, it was massive, but it was easy because I just allowed it. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. Identity has to die to love. Like, brilliant.
You're an efficient dyer. That's not.
I'm down with death.
I'm down with death. Dying person. I feel the same. I feel the same. It's not like the deaths happen less often. It's just like I get better at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, tell us more about this male vessel.
The male vessel. Yeah. So it wasn't instant. It was very gradual. So we'd been speaking. We're in the end of October now, nearing the end, and we'd been speaking since June, and it was very much very brother sister. Like, really, like, I was really like, oh, I love you, like, you're so, I understand you, I see you, I hear you, part of me knows you, you're my brother, you know, like.
Yeah. And
then as time, you know, gradually moved on, I started to, like, feel quite physical sensations, and I noticed that my thoughts were lingering around this person, and it was.
I'm doing a smirk.
Yeah, it was just very natural, very non-forced. There was nothing forceful about it. There was nothing unnatural about it. It was so beautiful. It beautifully unraveled, and there was a bit of a cognitive dissonance around it, around my brain understanding what is this, because I've got this construct here that is acting as a defense mechanism against what I naturally feel. So there was that, and eventually I was just like, I admitted to my partner first, like, I have an attraction toward the male vessel. And she was like, great, I already knew that. Been watching you being weird. Which was cool. And then I told this person, and then it was like the most freeing thing that I had experienced, being able to voice that, to come to my knees about it, to be so reverent to it, because it just felt so sacred and just so natural, and just such, just you know, just
I'm experiencing it through you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Such a feeling.
It was.
I love that.
Yeah. And, you know, we're still relating now, and I'm learning so much about myself in a different dynamic, which is what is, like, really exciting for me now, is that I'm learning what other desires I kept locked up away in that identity, you know, within the constructs, within the walls, within the pillars, within the basements of that identity, and they're all kind of unearthing at the moment. So I'm experiencing a huge polarity shift at the moment, where this whole other part of me is coming online, which is also, like, a bit terrifying, you know. She's smirking because she knows. She knows how it's been around here.
I love this unraveling of yours. It brings me such joy. That's all I'll say. Continue.
Yeah. So, there's so many intricacies to this, but like, how do I even serve it on a plate and not a smorgasbord? A couple of key pointers were that having this masculine counterpart really brings out naturally, like very naturally, this very feminine side of me.
Yeah.
And it's a side of me that I actually try to keep down because also sometimes when you're relating in a female to female partnership, I mean, you naturally, which is my favorite thing ever, is you naturally are trading roles and swapping roles and, you know, playing with different dynamics, right? You can call them masculine, feminine, penetrative, receptive, whatever words you have for them. They're just words, like all other words are words. But to describe that would be, I would choose the words now, which I had an aversion to before, funnily enough. Masculine and feminine, right? Being able to switch roles, play different dynamics, constantly like shifting where your partner's at and where you're at, and you know, being penetrative and receptive, which is so fun.
Yeah.
With a female counterpart, but sometimes something happens, and I've experienced it a lot, is when, you know, it gets a bit chaotic sometimes, like two very feminine roles in a dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, I've experienced so many different dynamics and aspects of that, but what I realized is that to control chaos in myself and in my partner, I would take on a more masculine role, more holding role, very still, very calm, very like, I'm holding, right? And I didn't really realize until recent how much that part of me just wanted to like come out and like just fall to pieces, right? And she was kind of starting to like simmer up in this experience to the point where I was like, whoa, like a part of me really desires that.
Yeah.
You know, to experience that dynamic. And it's not that I need a male or a man, but it came up in what I was wanting to experience with this relationship.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had that experience before, you know? So, yeah, that was something very, a lot. And it's been a lot for me, you know, because also there's a whole bunch of other things that come into play. I mean, like, I know this is like a spiritually focused podcast, and my background is very much like Taoist, very disciplined, very masculine, or very neutral.
Yeah.
And there were points in my 20s where I actually like reached the point of what like some people would consider like mastery for a time, you know, fully like still and mastered in my emotions and non-reactive and very much in a flow state. And I had that experience, but also like I had a huge tragedy that was like, no, like that's not your experience, you know, for long. Yeah. Like I've had that experience now, and now I got taken back into the chaos to live the human experience, right? Which is what we all came for. So, you know, I put like mastery on the back burner for a long time because I was like, oh, that's right. Like, I did forget how much I love ice cream, or, you know, to be silly, or just have like the full down and dirty human experience, like just down and dirty with everything. Because like mastery is cool, but also so is just like getting on your knees in the dirt and like just getting really messy.
Yeah.
And a lot of my training really pulled me away from accepting that part of humanity. To be human, to be humane, you know, and to get messy and to learn from the human experience, right? Because in spirit and when we do have that conversation with our higher selves or with God and have that ding moment, and we're all, you know, a lot of us are lucky enough to have that moment where we remember where we came from and who we are and what we are, but also that we're here now and we're in this experience, and that we don't need to be constantly trying to reach for spiritual transcendence or like to ascend. You know, like we're here very much for a reason. Like gravity holds us here for a reason. And so I discovered this part of myself that was suppressed. And this part of myself is messy. It's
I love this part of you.
Chaos. It's like she's all over the place. She's just, oh my God. And like, we were talking about this in the kitchen before. For astrology peeps.
Yes.
My south node is in Virgo and my north node is in Pisces. So I'm heading toward that more like chaotic, merging with everything from a very structured, you know, place, which is funny. It's like, why is that my nightmare? You know what I mean? Why? But yeah, it's also where I feel a lot of pleasure. And I feel like just that like creative, chaotic bliss, you know?
Yeah. I really feel it being, you know, a similar polarity to any polarity. You might come into this life really straight and really masculine, and then, you know, want to experience the opposite of that. And some people, I think, come into this life really like here to have the human experience, here to be really down in the physical. Other people I meet are just destined to be traversing the fucking cosmos. And some people are here to do a bit of both. And like for me, I feel like I'm about both. I'm about both, and I think you're about both. And I think that process is kind of speeding up as well, of like
big time. Bringing
the two together and finding that new expression that's not, you know, all spirit, all ethereal, and
off
not all earth, human. What I want to ask you, there's so many things. So, what do people need to know from you, Sophia? I feel like we've covered a lot already.
But on that too, just quickly, like the same amount of spirit is available on earth. Like I've had experiences like in the cosmos and like, wow, shiny, and just been like mind blown, come back, have had struggled so badly to like, how do I even integrate that? To like walking through the garden and seeing the exact same thing that I saw out there. The geometric patterns, the way that everything unfolds and unfurls, the death and rebirth, and even like the beauty and the decay. Like that is so available in this experience. Like sometimes even more so because you can feel it like running through your body, you know what I mean? As opposed to being out there and just like...
Which is kind of the tantric path, right? It's like descending to ascend, going fully into the physical experience to have that transcendent experience.
100%.
I always feel like it should be renamed. And I've been thinking a lot about this idea of like, maybe it's like physical or embodied, and then there's like out of physical, out of the body. It's like, that just feels like the vertical... what's what I'm looking for?
Trajectory?
Scale or whatever. Yeah. Because that's what I feel for myself, is just like travel up, travel down.
Yeah.
And it's all spiritual. I think you're right. You're not the first person to say this on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's all spiritual. It's all...
everything. Yeah. That dog shit.
It's all God.
You know, like, fuck. Like when you really... Yeah, that's what I really feel is like that grounded spirituality. You know,
Yeah.
not that vacant, abandon the human spirituality.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I like it better that way.
Yeah.
It's funny, like when I started this podcast, I really just thought like, oh, let's talk about, you know, people's spiritual experiences, controversial, and how that maybe butts up against queerness. But what seems to be happening is like, it's just becoming, pretty much every conversation I've had has just ended up in some way being about how we're expanding.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Like everyone's just like, you know, don't box yourself in, but also do box yourself in. And
if you must.
If you know, experience the box and then come out of the box.
Yeah.
And we're just, you know, we're expanding.
Yeah.
And there's so much beauty in that. I love that you've had this such gay experience and now you're having this like man-woman experience, and how beautiful that is for you and how magical, and who even knows how that's going to unfold.
No idea. And I don't want to know, funnily enough. I just do not. I want to really experience all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want that for you.
Yeah, as obsessed as I am with like always knowing, like there are just those things that are like so precious that don't want to know.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying the experience of it, as well as everything that's coming with it.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like, potentially controversial statement, but I've been with men, and there's something to be said for having that both the kind of metaphysical experience of like the doing air quotes again, masculine, feminine polarity on the energetic level, but also then having that reflected in the physical embodied experience. There's definitely something to be said for that. And I've already said this multiple times on this podcast, but even though I currently identify as gay, which is fun, I still have cock, you know? And I love men.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. And I'm so excited for you to have more of that experience. Because it's just special. As special as it is also, you know, having that female experience, also stunningly beautiful in different ways. And
it really is.
I mean, if you could choose to have it all, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? We're here with the queer agenda again.
No, it's true though. I have really, like, within that experience, I've had moments where I'm like, I'm so lucky. I've got everything. Like, whoa. Yeah. You know, overwhelmingly so. Yeah, feeling that immense gratitude for the entire experience of, both.
To experience all parts of yourself.
Yeah. Immense.
Yeah. In one lifetime. Like, wow. Holy shit.
Yeah.
And also, if you're really gay or really straight, cool. That's fine.
So cool.
Go for gold.
Fine. Yeah. You do you.
You do you. Everyone.
Claim it.
You do you, everybody.
Claim it, name it.
Yeah.
And then pick it all to pieces. It's so fun.
Yeah, I think if we can
so humbling.
Yeah, if we can summarize this, I think it's just like, don't be afraid to die. That might be the name of this podcast.
Don't be afraid to die, to love.
Yeah, don't be afraid to die to love. Don't be afraid to don't be afraid to like let the identities fall away in with the truth that's coming through. You know? Yeah. Let that stuff like melt and dissolve. And that's really my main practice at the moment in life. Like my main teacher at the moment is all about that. Just the truth, coming back to the truth again and again. Truth through the body, truth. And whatever that means for the identity, it's like, well, it must burn.
100%.
Yeah. I get so excited when we talk about you being chaotic.
Oh my god.
So when Sophia and I started dating, she mentioned to me the other day, she was like, I understand you more now too. It really 100%. Like made me laugh. She was like saying how when we met, she was like, this person is very messy. Like, it could be easier. And I'm there just like, I know it could be easier, but I am enjoying this mess. I'm going to keep rolling around in it. And just like, that's what's true for me a lot of the time.
It's so funny, like some of the things that we like judge on, like even so subtly, like even though I wasn't necessarily judging it, but I was like having that experience and also being like, it's fine, I'll hold, you know? And then like how I'm like, oh, I kind of wanted that, you know? There's that part of me like tap, tap, tap.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, yeah, like there's an attraction for a reason.
Yeah.
And similarly, like I've learned so much from you around holding and containment and oh my God, like so much from you around all of that. And I've needed that. Like I really needed to work my boundaries. I needed to work on like really clearing my energetic field and like taking ownership over that. And that's what I was lacking in my chaos. Was like really occupying the space, naming the boundary. Yeah, so it's beautiful, the dance that happens when two sort of polarities meet and they're just like you do a beautiful exchange
and then like leave a few things there to like drop in later.
Yeah. And then also like I think it's worth mentioning that you can be messy while someone else is being messy, but you just got to be prepared for a lot of mess.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like I'm not entirely there yet. I'm still a little bit like...
I'm like holding up for the day. I'm like, we're going to be in the mud together.
In the mud pit. Oh my God.
In the mud pit.
Oh, it'd be hilarious. No
God.
doubt. Yeah. I'm open to it. Don't feel that I'm like fully ready for it yet.
You just call me up.
I will. Catherine, get in the ring.
Sweet.
Mud wrestling. 100%. Yeah.
I was just having a flashback to when we were in Bali. So Sophia and I met at a Wild Grace training in Bali. And there was an experience there. I won't go too much into it. But where someone was having an experience with a mud spirit. Yeah. And I just had that thought. I was like, oh yeah. There was that mud
100%
person.
There was the mud person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really were getting in the mud. One day. That'll be us.
Yeah. I look forward to it.
Can't wait.
I see the sparkle in your eye.
So, what advice, I mean, we've talked a lot about lots of things already, but what advice would you give to a young, potentially curiously queer person?
So, I've made a little word swap lately. I've done a little like replacement, which I feel like just really suits this conversation. And that is dedication over discipline. So, if you do feel yourself, you know, or feel the threads pulling for the experience, do it. Like, dedicate yourself to it. Don't discipline yourself against it. Don't hurt yourself, you know, in the ways that you possibly could avoid. If I could serve as like a living testament to that, amazing. But yeah, what I've learned through this whole experience is that I just wish to dedicate myself to whatever experience is calling me, just to allow that, just to like not create any more unnecessary suffering for myself, like out of the love I have for myself. And if you don't feel that you have cultivated that love, that's a good way to start, because that is an act of love. It is such a great act of love to dedicate yourself to who you desire to be and what you desire to experience in your reality. It's yours. It doesn't belong to your parents or society or your culture. You are yours and yours alone.
Beautiful. Yeah, I feel like that's something you do really well, you know, even with all the disciplinary practice you've had and training. one of the things that struck me most when we met was this devotion you had, or you could call it dedication, to your heart and to the love that you felt and feel. And like when we met, I was so oblivious to what was happening there. I was leading like a first training for myself, so I was completely immersed. But you came to me and you like wrote me a poem, and like it was so beautiful. And it took me a while. I honestly just like really clicked for me the other day. Let's be honest. But I just like, oh, like that devotion you have to your heart and to following this heart thread, that wherever it leads you. And I'm like, wow, like it's striking. And I feel like that's great advice to anyone who is out there and maybe is a bit scared or unsure, or like has a lot of forces that they feel kind of oppose their innate like desires. It's like, yeah, devoting yourself to your heart, devoting yourself to your soul path. It'll have its challenges, but at the end of the day, I think the rewards of that, the fruits of that, we're doing explosion.
Far exceed.
Explosion hands. Confetti hands.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Oh.
And the heart, the special thing about the heart is that it goes beyond construct. You know.
Starting to have heartgasms. Just talking about this.
Yeah. The heart goes beyond construct and beyond confinement. So yeah, if ever you're in a tug of war with the mind and the heart, just set all your attention here. It's all here, all of it. And it might take you a little bit to get through all of the construct, but the truth is always here.
Yeah.
The greatest truth. Yeah. How's that cacao going down?
Oh, good, yeah. It's hit me right in the heart chakra. Right in the heart chakra.
I feel it.
Actually feeling like maybe that we're coming to an end. Is there anything else specific you wanted to share on?
I think I've covered everything.
Yeah, it feels
such a short amount of
feels
time.
complete. It's just
Really
juicy,
does.
like a full. I'm just seeing like a rich chocolate drop,
Yum.
like a bubble. I keep seeing bubbles. What
Yum.
is this?
Yeah,
Just
I don't
knew it's
know.
all bubbles.
Bubble reality.
Bubbles. Just a chocolate drop, and you
Yum.
just like.
Yeah. Done. We're done.
Yeah. So Sophia, I'm gonna put all your details in the boxes where they go, so people can click on your links. But where can people find you? What can people, if people want to work with you, what can they do?
You can find me on medicineofsophia.com. You can find all my work there. I work mainly with within the ancestral realms, as well as the shamanic and akashic realms as well. You can work with me via my program called The Butterfly Effect, which is a 4-stage metamorphic process going through the different elements and all of the correlations, and also brings in all of the plants. I always get tempted to say it. I love plants.
It's true.
Oh, mate. You can find me on Instagram, all of my musings, all of my sharings. I've spoken, to a little bit about what we've spoken to today on there, if you wanted to dive deeper into that.
Yeah, Sophia's a beautiful writer, so there's like another transmission of hers in that format.
You got the chaotic one, the structured ones over there. All is welcome. Just find me in the astral sometime.
Excellent.
Swing.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, my love.
Always a pleasure.
Always.